Now today, the video is going to be about different property strategies. Hello there and welcome to my channel, Life with Lois. My name is Lois and today I'm bringing you another video in the series of tips and tricks with Lois. Now before we get into it, just a little bit of housekeeping. So don't forget to click on your notifications button so every time I release a video, you'll be the first to know. And also do me a favor, please share our videos and like and comment, because the more you comment, the more you interact, the more our videos go around and people will get to see it. So I'd be so grateful if you share our videos amongst your friends and your family and whoever else you think might be interested in property. So let's get started. Now today, the video is going to be about different property strategies. Now there's so many strategies out there. When I first started in property, there were so many things out there. I was confused. I was hearing this abbreviation, that shortened word, this long sentence. I didn't know what they all stood for. I didn't know what they meant, but soon and very soon I quickly learned. So today I'm going to be breaking down my top 5 property strategies, and then you can also have a great idea of where you could possibly start in property. Now the first property strategy I'd like to talk about are HMOs. Now HMOs are house of multiple occupancy. It's where you actually have multiple rooms in a house. You rent out each room by room, and then some rooms will have like en-suites, and some rooms will require you to share a bathroom and other shared amenities such as a kitchen or a lounge, and all the communal areas will be shared. But the great thing about HMOs is that instead of like a single let, you only collect one rent. In an HMO, you collect 5 or 6 different rents from each room because you've let it out on a room by room basis. So you collect, different pots of rent on one property. Now, don't get me wrong, HMOs are labor intensive, but they are great strategies, great cash flowing strategies if you've set up your systems right. Also with HMOs, you must be very clear on legislation surrounding HMOs. Now, the thing is, you can't just take an HMO and set it up anywhere, because many areas have Article 4s. Now, in terms of a quick summary of Article 4, it's basically where there's restrictions on planning in that area. You can't just go in and buy a house, turn it into an HMO and think you're going to obtain a license. It won't work. You've got the granddaddy licensing, which is already houses that were previously licensed before the Article 4 hit the area. So I won't go too much into that, but just be very clear of where you're purchasing your properties for HMOs if that's something you want to do. Also, what you've got to be very clear about is licensing, because now the way that the each council are operating and the government is that every property now of HMO is requiring a license. Before it was only a certain amount of floors, but now everything has changed. Some councils are actually saying if there are 2 or more people living in there who are unrelated to each other, a license will be slapped onto it. So you need to also be clear about licensing and legislation and planning and be very clear about it. But apart from that, it's a great strategy. Second strategy is buy to let or single lets. Now buy to let is basically somebody who buys a property such as a 2 up, 2 down, and they actually just let it out to a family. So it's just a basic cash flow where you've got one property, one family or one person lives in that property, and you just rent it out to them. Now a lot of people do this because it's not so much labor intensive as a HMO, but yet still it's a great cash flow, and you just buy a property and you let it out and it just pays for itself. But be very careful that when you're buying your buy to let, that the money that you're going to rent it for must cover your investment. Otherwise you'll be topping up that mortgage every month, and how then is it a buy to let, and where is your profit being made? So it's very important that when you're buying properties that you look at how much you're paying for it, what is going to be your return in terms of your profit, your margin each month, and that's the thing to be careful of with buy to lets. The third one is service accommodation. Now this is a really, really popular strategy. It's also a great cash flowing strategy if you know what you're doing. So if you think of service accommodation, it's really like a hotel. It's like a hotel where you've actually booked out the property for 2, 3, 4 nights or however long you want to. You pay a higher premium, even though you don't have service in there in terms of like laundry service or what have you. But as long as you set up your service accommodation with the right systems, say for example having a key lock outside where the person renting can let themselves in, and when they check out they can check out, it saves you running up and down to that property and being behind each one. It can work really well, and it's very high cash flowing if you know what you're doing, if you've got the strategy right. But service accommodation is a great one to get into. Now the fourth property strategy, which I think is great, are lease option agreements. With a lease option agreement, you agree to rent a property now with the option to buy it later. So maybe 3 years or 5 years or 7 years, you buy that property, and in the meantime, you're actually renting it out, earning a cash flow from it, but also the property is gaining in value because by the time you actually purchase it, it would have increased in value. So you buy the property now. You're gaining profit from the actual rent that you're taking from the property currently. Then later on down the line, you buy the property and you're still gaining cash flow. So it's double bubble. It's a great strategy, and especially you can even buy a lease option for as little as £1. That's the minimum you can pay for a lease option agreement. And then down the line, you purchase it and then you can refinance it if that's something you choose to do. So it's a great strategy. It's definitely one to look at, but you need to understand lease options very well, and also you need to get your legal team involved as well when doing a lease option agreement. It's very popular. Why? Because by the time you've actually purchased it, you've gained so much capital appreciation on the property that double bubble, you're doing well. You're doing really well. Now the next popular one is BRRR. So you buy it, you refurbish it, refinance it, and then you rent it. Now with BRRR, this is the best way to recycle your cash, because you buy the property at below market value. You then do some refurbishment to it, uplift the property in value, and then after some time, you refinance it. You refinance it back out and pull all the extra money out of the property that you would have made with the uplift, and also buying it low. So if you think about buying it low, you've uplifted it, and then the price is at a certain amount, you've pulled out the money in the middle, and then after that you rent out the property. So what you can then do is have a property that's cash flowing for you, but you've also managed to pull money out of the deal, but the deal has got to stack up in order for you to pull money out. That's why you buy it low. That's how the BRRR works, the strategy works. So that is great, because at the end of it, you've still got an asset, you've made your money work for you, and you've probably paid back your investor, or you're able to take that same money that you probably put in and take it and do it all over again, rinse and repeat. So that's my top 5 in terms of property strategies, and I hope you found it useful. And believe you me, there's many more out there, but this is just my top 5 that I thought would be helpful to you. So tell me what you think down below, which one that you'd be interested in, and maybe whichever one you like to talk about, I'm happy to do a video on it as well. Just let me know if that's something that's of interest to you. So guys, have a great week whatever you're doing. Don't forget to tune into my next video in terms of business tips and tricks with Lois. Take care, have a great week, bye.